Leela Bennett stood in the cramped training room, her hands trembling as she gripped the wire cutters. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the faces of her fellow trainees. At 28, Leela was the oldest recruit in the bomb disposal unit, a fact her instructor, Captain Derek Ramsey, never let her forget. His smirk was unmistakable as he leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching her fumble with a mock explosive device. "Bennett, those shaky hands of yours gonna get us all blown up," he taunted, drawing snickers from the younger recruits, Jake, Travis, and Emily, who followed his lead like eager puppies. Leela's cheeks burned, but she kept her eyes on the device, her fingers unsteady from a condition she'd had since childhood, a benign tremor that worsened under stress. She disclosed it during her application, and the department had cleared her, but Ramsey seemed to take personal offense at her presence. "Focus, Bennett," he barked, though his tone suggested he expected her to fail. The other recruits whispered, their words stinging. "Why's she even here? Bet she drops it." Leela's jaw tightened. She'd spent years proving herself, from her time as a volunteer firefighter to late nights studying explosives manuals. Her hands might shake, but her mind was sharp and her resolve was iron. She clipped the correct wire, disarming the dummy bomb, and the room fell silent. Ramsey grunted, unimpressed, and moved on to Jake, his favorite, who flashed a smug grin. Leela's tremor wasn't just a physical challenge. It was a magnet for judgment. Growing up in a small Ohio town, she'd endured classmates mimicking her unsteady grip, teachers doubting her ability to handle lab equipment. Yet she'd graduated top of her class, driven by a quiet stubbornness. Now, in the high-stakes world of bomb disposal, the stakes were higher, and so was the scrutiny. Ramsey's disdain wasn't just professional, it felt personal. He, once accidentally spilled coffee on her training manual, laughing it off as she scrambled to save the pages. The others followed his lead, leaving her out of after-hours drinks, whispering about her nerves. Leela didn't need their approval, but the isolation stung. She'd chosen this path after a gas leak explosion in her hometown killed a neighbor. The memory of twisted metal and ash fueled her. She wasn't here for glory, she was here to save lives. That night, alone in her apartment, Leela practiced with a circuit board, forcing her hands to steady through sheer will. She visualized Ramsey's smirk, the recruits' laughter, and channeled it into focus. Tomorrow's simulation would be tougher, a live-wire scenario with a ticking clock. She wasn't perfect, but she was prepared. As she lay in bed, her hands still twitching, Leela whispered to herself, "They'll see." She didn't know how soon that moment would come, or how much it would cost her. Leela's boots crunched on the gravel outside the training facility as she arrived for the live-wire simulation. The air was thick with tension. Today's exercise was a step up, designed to mimic a real bomb threat. Captain Ramsey stood by the mock-up, a tangle of wires and a digital timer counting down from 10 minutes. His eyes flicked to Leela, his lip curling. "Bennett, you're up first. Don't blow us to kingdom come." The other recruits chuckled, but Leela's focus was razor sharp. She approached the device, her hands trembling visibly as she knelt. The timer's red numbers glared, 9:47. She scanned the wires, red, blue, green, yellow, each a potential disaster. Ramsey's voice cut through her thoughts. "Tick-tock, Bennett. Those shaky fingers gonna cooperate today." Jake snorted, whispering to Travis, "Bet she chokes." Layla ignored them, her mind racing through the manual's diagrams. Her tremor made gripping the cutters tricky, but she'd trained for this. She identified the primary circuit, her breathing steady despite the taunts. 6 minutes, Ramsey called, his tone mocking. Leela's hands moved deliberately, isolating the blue wire. She clipped it and the timer paused at 5:23. The room went quiet. Ramsey raised eyebrows but said nothing, waving Jake forward for his turn. Jake, all confidence, misjudged a wire, triggering a buzzer that signaled failure. Ramsey didn't mock him, just clapped his shoulder. "Next time, kid." Leela's small victory felt hollow. At lunch, she sat alone, picking at her sandwich while the others laughed at a table across the room. Emily glanced her way, then leaned into Jake, whispering. Leela caught the word freak. She clenched her fork, her knuckles white. She'd faced worse. Her high school coach had once benched her during a track meet, claiming her tremor made her unreliable. She'd still won a scholarship, outrunning everyone. But here, the stakes were life and death. That afternoon, Ramsey paired her with Travis for a team drill. Travis rolled his eyes, muttering, "Great, stuck with Shaky." They were tasked with disarming a simulated pressure-sensitive device. Travis rushed, ignoring Leela's suggestion to check the secondary circuit. The buzzer blared failure. Ramsey blamed Layla, barking, "Get it together, Bennett." She bit her tongue, knowing arguing was pointless. That evening, Leela stayed late, practicing alone. She rigged a mock device, timing herself. Her hands shook, but she disarmed it in under 3 minutes. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she reset it, again and again. She thought of her late neighbor, Mrs. Larson, whose smile had lit up their street until the explosion took her. Leela wasn't just fighting Ramsey's bias or her own body, she was fighting for people like Mrs. Larson. As she packed up, the facility's alarm blared. Not a drill. A real bomb threat downtown. Ramsey's voice crackled over the intercom. "All trainees, gear up. This is live." Leela's heart pounded. Her moment was here. The bomb squad's van screeched through the city, sirens wailing as Leela clutched her gear bag. The call had come from a community center downtown. A suspicious package in the basement, reported by a janitor. Captain Ramsey briefed the team en route, his voice clipped. "Timers active, pressure-sensitive device, likely homemade. Bennett, you're on backup. Don't touch anything unless I say so." Leela nodded, her hands trembling but her mind clear. The van pulled up to the center, a squat brick building swarming with police and flashing lights. Evacuees huddled across the street, their faces pale. Leela spotted a mother clutching a toddler, her eyes wide with fear. The image burned into Leela's mind, grounding her. Inside, the basement was damp, lit by flickering fluorescents. The device sat on a folding table, a mess of wires, duct tape, and a digital clock ticking down from 12 minutes. Ramsey directed Jake and Travis to take lead, their confidence evident as they unpacked their tools. Leela stood back, scanning the setup. Something felt off. The wires were too exposed, almost deliberately chaotic. She'd seen similar designs in her manuals, decoys meant to distract. Jake reached for a red wire, but Leela's gut screamed. "Wait," she said, stepping forward. Ramsey glared. "I said back up, Bennett." "There's a secondary circuit," she insisted, pointing to a barely visible wire tucked beneath the tape. Jake scoffed, but Ramsey hesitated, his eyes narrowing. "Fine, check it. Don't screw this up." Leela knelt, her hands shaking as she traced the wire with a gloved finger. The team watched, their earlier mockery replaced by tense silence. The clock read 9:14. Her tremor made her grip unsteady, but she focused, visualizing the diagrams she'd studied. The secondary circuit was live. Cutting the wrong wire would trigger the device. She isolated a green wire, her cutters hovering. Ramsey muttered, "Hurry up, Bennett." She clipped it. The timer froze at 8:47. Jake exhaled and Travis muttered, "Lucky." Ramsey didn't acknowledge her success, barking orders to secure the device. As they packed up, a police officer approached, confirming the bomb was real, likely planted by a disgruntled ex-employee. The team returned to the van, the mood subdued. Leela felt no triumph, only relief. Back at the facility, Ramsey dismissed the team but pulled Leela aside. "You got lucky," he said, his tone cold. "Don't let it go to your head." She met his gaze, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. "I wasn't lucky, I was prepared." He walked away without a word. That night, Leela sat in her apartment, replaying the day. Her hands still shook, but they'd saved lives. She thought of the toddler's mother, safe now. For the first time, Leela felt a flicker of pride. The team's doubts, Ramsey's disdain, they didn't define her. She'd proven herself, and she wasn't done. Leela woke to her phone buzzing with a group text from the team minus Ramsey. Jake had sent a blurry photo of the community center's basement, captioned, "Guess Shaky didn't blow us up." Travis added a laughing emoji and Emily chimed in, "Still don't get how she pulled it off." Leela's stomach twisted. She disarmed a real bomb, yet they reduced it to a joke. She tossed her phone aside, focusing on her morning coffee, her hands trembling as she gripped the mug. At the training facility, the mood was different. The real-world call had shaken the team, and Ramsey was gruffer than usual, barking orders for a new simulation. "Yesterday was a fluke," he said, eyeing Layla. "Don't expect miracles every day." The new device was complex, with multiple timers and a pressure plate. Leela watched Jake and Travis struggle, their confidence faltering as the buzzer signaled their failure. When her turn came, Ramsey hovered, his skepticism palpable. "Let's see if you can repeat your little stunt, Bennett." Leela's hands shook as she approached the device, the team's eyes boring into her. The timer ticked down from 8 minutes. She identified a decoy circuit immediately, her training kicking in. Her tremor made her movements slow, deliberate, but she clipped the correct wire with 4:12 to spare. Emily muttered, "Show off," but there was less venom in her tone. After training, Layla overheard Jake in the break room talking to Travis. "She's weird, but she's not useless." It wasn't praise, but it was progress. Leela kept her head down, focusing on the next drill. Days blurred into weeks, each simulation tougher than the last. Ramsey's taunts didn't stop, but Leela noticed a shift. He critiqued her technique, not her hands. The team's jabs lessened, replaced by grudging respect. One evening, Emily approached her during a break, holding out a soda. "You're not bad, Bennett," she said awkwardly. "Just intense." Leela took the soda, surprised. "Thanks." It was a small gesture, but it felt like a crack in the wall. Then came the call: a shopping mall evacuated after a bomb threat. The device was in a storage room surrounded by flammable cleaning supplies. Ramsey assigned Leela to lead a first. Her heart raced as she suited up, her hands shaking but her focus unshakable. The device was a nightmare: nested circuits, a faint hum suggesting a live charge. The team watched her work, no one joking now. Leela's fingers, unsteady as ever, traced the wires. She spotted a hair-thin trigger wire, nearly invisible. With her cutters too bulky, she used her fingernails, peeling back the insulation. The timer stopped at 1:03. The team exhaled as one. Back at base, Ramsey said nothing, but his nod was enough. Leela felt a weight lift. She wasn't just proving them wrong, she was saving lives. Her hands might shake, but they were steady where it counted. The training facility buzzed with a new energy as the team prepared for their final certification exam. Leela had been dreading it, not the test itself, but the weight of Ramsey's judgment. Passing meant a full-time spot on the bomb squad. Failing meant starting over. Her hands trembled as she packed her gear, the familiar tremor amplified by nerves. At the facility, Ramsey outlined the exam: a live simulation with a randomized device, no prior intel. "This isn't a game," he said, his eyes lingering on Leela. "Screw up and you're out." The other recruits exchanged glances, but Leela kept her focus. She'd faced worse than Ramsey's glare. A real bomb, a ticking clock, lives on the line. The exam room was sterile, the device a chaotic tangle of wires and timers. Leela went third after Jake and Travis, both of whom passed with minor errors. Her turn came, and the timer started at 15 minutes. Ramsey stood close, arms crossed, his silence louder than any taunt. Leela's hands shook as she traced the circuits, her mind racing through patterns she'd memorized. The device had a dual-trigger system, a rarity in training. She identified the primary wire but hesitated. Something felt off. A faint vibration suggested a hidden pressure sensor. She adjusted her approach, using her fingernails to gently peel back a layer of tape, revealing a secondary trigger. Ramsey's eyebrow twitched, but he said nothing. The timer hit 6:34 when she clipped the final wire, disarming the device. The room was silent until Ramsey grunted, "Pass." Leela exhaled, her hands still trembling. The team gathered for results and all four passed, but Ramsey pulled Leela aside after. "You're on probation," he said. "Your hands are a liability." Leela's chest tightened, but she nodded. "I'll prove you wrong, sir." That night, the team went for drinks, and for the first time they invited Leela. She declined, needing space. At home, she practiced with a circuit board, her hands steadier with each repetition. The next week, a new call came. A school evacuated after a suspicious package was found in a locker. Leela was assigned to the team despite Ramsey's reluctance. The device was crude but dangerous, with a volatile chemical component. Leela's hands shook as she worked, but her focus was unbreakable. She disarmed it with seconds to spare, her fingernails scraping away a stubborn casing. The team watched, silent. Back at the station, Jake clapped her shoulder. "Not bad, Bennett." Even Ramsey gave a curt nod. Leela felt a shift. She wasn't just the shaky recruit anymore. Her condition, once a source of shame, was now her strength. She'd turned mockery into respect, not through words but through action. As she left the station, the mother from the community center incident approached, thanking her with tears in her eyes. Leela's hands trembled as she shook the woman's hand, but her smile was steady. She earned her place. Leela's first official day as a certified bomb tech was quieter than expected. The station was a flurry of paperwork and gear checks, but no calls came. She sat at her locker, adjusting her tools, her hands trembling as always. The tremor hadn't worsened, but stress made it more noticeable. She caught Travis glancing at her, not with mockery but curiosity. "How do you do it?" he asked, nodding at her hands. Leela shrugged. "Practice and spite." He laughed, a genuine sound that surprised her. The team was warming to her slowly. Ramsey, though, remained a wall. He assigned her the least desirable tasks: inventory, cleaning equipment, while Jake and Emily got field assignments. Leela didn't complain. She'd learned long ago that proving herself meant outworking everyone. Her childhood had taught her that. Growing up, her tremor had made simple tasks like writing or carrying trays a spectacle. Her father, a mechanic, had shown her how to use her hands differently, teaching her to rebuild engines with deliberate precision. That patience carried her now. A week later, a call came. A factory on the city's edge, a device hidden in a break room. Ramsey led the team, assigning Leela to assist Emily. The device was sophisticated, with a mercury switch that could trigger with the slightest tilt. Emily froze, her confidence shaken. Leela stepped in, her hands trembling but her voice calm. "Hold the base steady," she told Emily, who obeyed without question. Leela's fingers, unsteady as they were, navigated the wires with surgical care. She used her fingernails to pry open a sealed compartment, revealing the trigger mechanism. The timer stopped at 2:17. Emily exhaled, muttering, "You're unreal." Back at the station, Ramsey reviewed the mission, his critique sharp but fair. He didn't mention Leela's hands, a small victory. The team's dynamic was shifting. Jake started asking her for tips on circuit analysis, and Travis stopped calling her Shaky. Emily, once distant, began sharing coffee during breaks. Leela felt the change but stayed guarded. She'd trusted too quickly before. In high school, a supposed friend had betrayed her, spreading rumors about her tremor to get her kicked off the debate team. The memory stung, but it had taught her resilience. One evening, Leela found a note in her locker, unsigned. "Keep proving them wrong." She suspected Emily but didn't ask. The note went into her pocket, a quiet reminder. Another call came days later, a courthouse, a device in the parking garage. Leela took lead, her hands shaking but her focus absolute. The device was a maze of decoys, but she disarmed it with 1:45 left. Ramsey watched, his expression unreadable. As they packed up, he said, "Good work, Bennett." It was the first praise he'd given her. Leela nodded, her throat tight. She wasn't here for his approval, but it felt good. That night she looked at her hands, still trembling, and smiled. They were her strength, not her weakness. The station was abuzz with rumors of a high-profile case, a series of bomb threats targeting city landmarks. Leela overheard Jake and Travis speculating about a ghost bomber, someone skilled enough to evade detection. The team was on edge, and even Ramsey seemed tense, his usual swagger muted. Leela kept her head down, focusing on her drills. Her hands trembled as she practiced on a mock device, but her confidence grew with each success. She disarmed 3 real bombs now, each one silencing a bit more of the team's doubt. But Ramsey's probation warning lingered, a shadow over her progress. One morning a call came. A library downtown evacuated after a package was found in the rare books section. The device was complex, with a digital timer and a tangle of wires suggesting a professional job. Ramsey assigned Leela to lead, a decision that raised eyebrows. "Don't mess this up," he said, his tone clipped. Leela suited up, her hands shaking as she approached the device. The library was eerily quiet, its shelves looming like silent witnesses. The timer read 14:22. She scanned the setup, nodding a faint hum, a sign of a live charge. Her tremor made her grip unsteady, but she trusted her training. She identified a decoy wire, then another, her fingernails scraping away tape to reveal a hidden circuit. Jake, assisting, whispered, "You got this." It was the first time he'd shown faith in her. Leela clipped the final wire at 3:08 and the timer stopped. The team exhaled, and even Ramsey gave a curt nod. Back at the station, the mood was lighter. Emily bought Leela a coffee, saying, "You're making us look bad, Bennett." It was teasing, not cruel. Leela smiled, feeling a tentative bond forming. Days later, the ghost bomber struck again, a device at a train station. This one was different, with a chemical component that could release toxic gas. Leela's hands shook as she worked, the stakes higher than ever. Ramsey watched closely, his silence heavy. She used her fingernails to pry open a sealed casing, revealing a fragile vial. With steady breaths, she neutralized the chemical trigger, disarming the device with 0:47 left. The team was silent, awed. Ramsey didn't praise her, but he didn't criticize either. That night, the team invited Leila for drinks again. This time she went. At the bar, Jake raised a glass. "To Leila, who makes shaky hands look badass." The table laughed and Leela joined in, her guard lowering. She wasn't one of them yet, but she was close. Later, alone, she thought of her father, who'd always believed in her. Her hands, once a source of shame, had saved lives. The ghost bomber was still out there, but Leela was ready. She'd face the next challenge, tremor and all, and prove she belonged, not just to Ramsay, but to herself. The ghost bomber's threats escalated, dominating local news. Leela felt the city's fear as she walked to the station, her hands trembling in her pockets. The team was on high alert, with Ramsay pushing them through grueling drills. "This guy's no amateur," he warned, his usual smirk gone. Leela noticed a shift in him. He was less dismissive, assigning her to key roles without hesitation. She earned that much, but his probation warning still hung over her. The next call came at dawn, a device at a hospital's emergency wing. The stakes were suffocating. Patients couldn't be moved easily, and the bomb was near oxygen tanks. Leela led the team, her hands shaking as she approached the device. It was a masterpiece of chaos, wires crisscrossing, a timer ticking down from 11 minutes, and a faint chemical smell. Her tremor made her movements slow, but her mind was a steel trap. She spotted a pressure sensor hidden under a false panel, using her fingernails to peel it back without triggering the device. Jake and Emily watched, their usual chatter absent. Leela disarmed it at 2:33, her hands steadying as the timer stopped. The hospital staff cheered, but Leela felt only relief. Back at the station, Ramsay debriefed them, his tone neutral. "Solid work, Bennett. It wasn't warmth, but it was progress." The team was different now. Travis asked her to review his circuit diagrams, and Emily shared stories about her own struggles with anxiety. Leela felt a cautious warmth, but trust came slowly. Her past had taught her that: friends who'd mocked her tremor behind her back, teachers who'd underestimated her. She'd built walls, but they were cracking. A week later, the ghost bomber hit a theater during a matinee. The device was in the projector room, surrounded by flammable film reels. Leela took lead again, her hands trembling but her focus absolute. The timer showed 9:45. She identified a dual-circuit system, one a decoy, the other live. Her fingernails scraped away insulation, revealing a hair-thin wire. She clipped it with 1:12 left, the device going silent. The team's respect was palpable now, no more shaky jokes. At the station, Jake admitted, "I wouldn't have caught that wire." Leela nodded, her throat tight. That night she found another note in her locker. "You're unstoppable." She suspected Travis this time. The ghost bomber's pattern was clear now: public spaces, high stakes, no mistakes. Leela studied case files late into the night, her hands trembling over pages. She saw connections the others missed, specific components, a signature in the wiring. She shared her findings with Ramsay, who listened without interrupting, a first. "Keep digging," he said. Leela felt a spark of purpose. Her hands might shake, but they were rewriting her story. She wasn't just surviving the team's doubts or the bomber's threats. She was outsmarting them. The city needed her, and for the first time she felt like she belonged. Leela's theory about the ghost bomber's signature, a rare capacitor used in each device, gave the team a lead. She presented it during a briefing, her hands trembling as she pointed to a diagram. Ramsey nodded, assigning her to work with the police to trace the component. The team's dynamic had shifted. Jake and Emily now sought her input, and even Travis stopped rolling his eyes. But Ramsey's probation warning lingered, a quiet threat. Leela spent hours cross-referencing supplier records, her tremor slowing her typing but not her focus. She found a match, a small electronics shop in the city's outskirts. The police raided it, arresting a clerk who'd sold the capacitors to an unidentified buyer. It wasn't the bomber, but it was a step closer. Leela felt a surge of purpose, her hands shaking less as she worked. The next call came at midnight, a device at a water treatment plant. The stakes were catastrophic. A chemical release could poison the city's supply. Leela suited up, her hands trembling but her mind clear. The device was a nightmare, booby-trapped with motion sensors and a timer at 13 minutes. Ramsey watched her closely, no longer mocking but still skeptical. Leela's fingernails pried open a hidden panel, revealing a secondary trigger. She disarmed it at 1:59, her hands steady in the final moment. The team was silent, their respect no longer grudging. Back at the station, Emily said, "You're the real deal, Layla." It was the first time anyone used her first name. Ramsey didn't comment, but he assigned her to lead the next mission. Days later, the ghost bomber struck a subway station. The device was buried in a maintenance closet, surrounded by electrical panels. Leela's hands shook as she navigated the wires, the timer at 10:22. She spotted the bomber's signature capacitor, confirming her theory. Using her fingernails, she disabled a decoy circuit, then the live one, stopping the timer at 0:48. The team cheered, and even Ramsey clapped her shoulder. "Good instincts," he said, his tone almost warm. Leela's walls were crumbling. She'd spent years guarding herself. Her tremor had been a target for bullies from schoolyards to this squad. But now her hands were her strength. That night she joined the team for drinks, laughing as Travis mimicked Ramsey's gruff voice. Jake asked about her tremor, not mockingly but with genuine curiosity. Leela shared her story, her childhood struggles, her father's support, the explosion that drove her here. The table listened, their faces soft. Another note appeared in her locker. "You're our MVP," she smiled, suspecting Jake. The ghost bomber was still out there, but Leela felt ready. Her hands, once a source of shame, were now her weapon. She'd turned mockery into respect, not just from the team but from herself. The city was safer because of her, and that was enough. For now, she'd keep fighting, tremor and all, until the bomber was caught. The ghost bomber's attacks grew bolder, targeting a city council meeting at the municipal building. Leela arrived with the team, her hands trembling as she scanned the chaotic scene. Evacuated officials, police cordons, and a timer ticking down from 15 minutes in a conference room. Ramsey put her on lead without hesitation, a sign of trust she hadn't expected. The device was sophisticated, with nested circuits and a chemical vial that could release a toxic cloud. Leela's tremor was visible as she knelt, but her focus was unshakable. She spotted the bomber's signature capacitor, her theory now a guiding light. Using her fingernails, she peeled back a layer of tape, revealing a pressure-sensitive trigger. The team held their breath as she clipped the wire at 2:14, silencing the timer. The council members, watching from a safe distance, applauded. Back at the station, Ramsey pulled her aside. "Probation's lifted," he said gruffly. "You've earned your spot." Leela nodded, her throat tight. It wasn't an apology, but it was enough. The team's respect was now overt. Jake and Travis included her in their banter, and Emily started calling her Leela regularly. She felt like part of something, a stark contrast to her isolated childhood, where her tremor had made her an outsider. Her father's words echoed, "Your hands don't define you, your heart does." The next lead came from Leela's capacitor research. The police traced the components to a warehouse, finding schematics and a partial fingerprint. It wasn't enough to id the bomber, but it narrowed the suspect pool. Leela spent late nights analyzing the schematics, her hands shaking over her laptop. She noticed a pattern. Each device used a specific relay, rare and traceable. She shared it with Ramsey, who coordinated with the FBI. The team was now looking at her as a leader, not a liability. Another call came, a device at a community college hidden in a lecture hall. Leela led, her hands trembling but her confidence solid. The timer showed 12:47 and the device had a mercury switch, deadly if tilted. She used her fingernails to disable a decoy circuit, then neutralized the main trigger with 1:33 left. The team's cheers were loud and Jake high-fived her. "You're a machine, Layla," he said. She smiled, her walls nearly gone. That night she found another note in her locker. "We're lucky to have you." She suspected Emily but didn't ask. The ghost bomber's identity was still a mystery, but Leela felt closer to cracking it. Her tremor, once a source of shame, was now a badge of resilience. She'd faced real bombs, saved lives, and turned skeptics into allies. As she practiced on a mock device at home, her hands shook, but her heart was steady. The bomber was out there, but so was she, ready, relentless, and unafraid. She'd keep going, proving her worth with every wire she cut. The warehouse lead broke the case open. Leela's relay pattern pointed to a single supplier, a tech firm with a disgruntled ex-engineer, Nathan Cole. The FBI raided his apartment, finding bomb-making materials and a manifesto railing against the city's leadership. Leela's hands trembled as she read the report, her theory now a reality. Cole was in custody, but he'd planted one final device, location unknown. The team was on edge, and Ramsey looked to Leela. "You've got the best instincts." "Where's he hiding it?" Leela studied Cole's manifesto, her hands shaking over the pages. His targets were symbolic, places of power or community. She suggested the city's main power grid, a hub Cole had mentioned in his rant. Ramsey trusted her hunch and the team mobilized. The power station was a maze of humming transformers, the device hidden in a control room. The timer showed 16 minutes and the setup was Cole's most complex yet, a triple-circuit system with a chemical payload. Leela's tremor was visible as she worked, but her focus was iron. She spotted the signature capacitor and relay, using her fingernails to peel back a sealed panel. Jake and Emily assisted, following her lead without question. The timer hit 2:45 when she disarmed it, her hands steady in the final moment. The team exhaled and Ramsey clapped her back. "You called it, Bennett." The city was safe, and Cole's reign was over. Back at the station, the team celebrated, but Leela stayed quiet, processing. Her journey from mocked recruit to linchpin felt surreal. The team's respect was now unshakable. Travis called her the bomb whisperer, and Emily hugged her a first. Even Ramsey's demeanor softened. He recommended her for a commendation. Leela's childhood flashed through her mind, kids mimicking her shaky hands, teachers doubting her. She'd turned their doubts into her strength, just as her father had promised. That night, the team insisted she join them for drinks. At the bar, Jake raised a glass. "To Leela, who made us eat our words." Laughter filled the table, and Leela laughed too, her guard fully down. She shared stories of her hometown, her father's garage, and the explosion that shaped her path. The team listened, their bond now real. A final note appeared in her locker: "You're our hero." She knew it was from the whole team. Leela went home, her hands trembling as she held the note. The ghost bomber was gone, but her fight was. She'd keep training, keep saving lives, her tremor a reminder of her resilience. The city saw her as a hero now, but to Leela it was simpler. She was doing what she was meant to do. Her hands, once a source of shame, had rewritten her story. She'd faced bombs, doubts, and her own fears, and she'd won. Leela's commendation ceremony was small but meaningful, held at the station with the team and a few city officials. Ramsey presented her with a plaque, his usual gruffness softened by a rare smile. "You've got grit, Bennett," he said, shaking her hand. Her tremor was noticeable, but no one commented. Jake, Travis, and Emily cheered, their applause genuine. Leela felt a warmth she hadn't known since her father's proud hugs. She thought of him as she accepted the plaque, wishing he could see her now. The ghost bomber case had changed everything. Leela was no longer the outsider, she was a cornerstone of the team. Her hands still shook, but they were tools of precision, trusted by all. The city's news outlets ran stories about the hero with steady resolve, never mentioning her tremor. Leela preferred it that way. Her work spoke louder than her condition. Back at the station, training resumed, but the dynamic was different. Ramsey treated her as an equal, assigning her to mentor new recruits. Jake and Travis sought her advice on complex devices, and Emily became a true friend, sharing late-night coffee and stories of their lives. Leela opened up about her past, the explosion that drove her, the bullies who'd mocked her hands. Emily shared her own struggles, and their bond deepened. A new call came weeks later. A false alarm at a convention center, but Leela led with confidence, her hands trembling but her actions sure. The team followed her without hesitation. Afterward, they debriefed over pizza, laughing about Travis's terrible aim with a dart gun during a drill. Leela felt at home, her walls gone. She kept the notes from her locker taped to her fridge, reminders of her journey. One evening, a new recruit, Mia, approached her nervous. "I heard about you," Mia said. "My hands shake too, nerve damage. Can I make it here?" Leela saw herself in Mia's anxious eyes. "You can," she said, showing her the plaque. "It's not about steady hands, it's about a steady mind." She spent hours mentoring Mia, sharing tricks she'd learned to work around her tremor. The station became a place of purpose. Leela's research into bomb components continued, her findings helping the FBI track copycat threats. Ramsey praised her initiative, a far cry from his early taunts. She thought of her hometown, the neighbor she couldn't save. Every disarmed bomb was for her. Leela's hands still shook, but they'd saved countless lives. She'd turned mockery into respect, isolation into belonging. As she practiced on a mock device at home, her phone buzzed. A text from Emily inviting her to a team barbecue. Leela smiled, her tremor a quiet companion. She wasn't just a bomb tech. She was a survivor, a leader, a hero. Her story wasn't over, but she'd already proven what her hands and her heart could do. Life at the station settled into a rhythm, but Leela never let her guard down. Her hands still trembled, a constant reminder of her journey, but they were now a symbol of her strength. She mentored Mia regularly, teaching her to channel her nerve damage into deliberate precision, just as Leela had done. Mia's progress was slow but promising, and Leela found purpose in guiding her. The team treated Leela with a respect that felt natural now. Jake often joked about her magic fingernails, and Travis relied on her to double-check his work. Even Ramsey, once her harshest critic, leaned on her instincts during briefings. The ghost bomber case had cemented her place, but Leela knew trust was fragile. She learned that in her youth when a trusted friend betrayed her confidence, spreading lies about her tremor. That lesson kept her grounded. A new threat emerged, a series of hoax devices designed to mimic the ghost bomber's style. The city was on edge and the team was stretched thin. Leela led a call at a museum, finding a device that was a convincing fake but harmless. Her hands shook as she dismantled it, her fingernails prying open a sealed compartment to confirm it was empty. The team trusted her judgment, and Ramsey nodded approval. "Good call, Bennett." Back at the station, Leela analyzed the hoaxes, spotting subtle differences from Cole's designs. She shared her findings with the FBI, who suspected a copycat testing the waters. Her work was meticulous, her tremor slowing her but never stopping her. Emily noticed her late hours and brought her coffee, a quiet gesture of friendship. "You're gonna burn out," Emily teased, but her eyes showed admiration. Leela smiled, grateful for the bond. One evening, a real device surfaced at a park pavilion during a festival. The timer showed 13 minutes and the setup was chaotic. Wires tangled, a chemical smell lingering. Leela's hands trembled, but she worked with calm precision, using her fingernails to disable a hidden trigger. The timer stopped at 1:27. The crowd, unaware of the danger, continued celebrating, but the team knew what she'd done. Jake clapped her shoulder and Travis said, "You're a legend." Leela's childhood flashed through her mind, her father teaching her to hold a wrench despite her tremor, telling her she was unstoppable. She carried that belief through every challenge. Now as a bomb tech she was living it. The hoaxes stopped after the FBI arrested a local teen, inspired by Cole's manifesto but lacking his skill. Leela's analysis had been key. That night she joined the team for drinks, laughing as Emily recounted a failed drill. Her hands shook as she held her glass, but no one cared. She'd turned doubt into trust, shame into pride. The city was safer because of her, and she was ready for whatever came next, tremor, challenges, and all. The station felt like home now, a far cry from Leela's first days of isolation. Her hands still trembled, but they were a badge of her resilience, not a flaw. She'd become the team's go-to for complex devices, her knack for spotting patterns unmatched. Ramsey, once her skeptic, now consulted her first on high-stakes calls. Jake, Travis, and Emily treated her like family, their teasing warm, not cruel. Mia, the new recruit, was progressing under Layla's mentorship, her own shaky hands steadier with each drill. Leela saw her younger self in Mia and poured her energy into helping her succeed. A new case tested the team, a device at a downtown bank, found during a late-night cleaning shift. The timer showed 14 minutes, and the setup was a maze of decoy wires and a volatile chemical component. Layla led, her hands trembling as she knelt. She spotted a familiar relay, a nod to the Ghost Bomber's style, but this was cruder, likely a copycat. Using her fingernails, she peeled back a hidden panel, revealing a pressure trigger. The team watched in silence, trusting her completely. She disarmed it at 2:09, her hands steady in the critical moment. Back at the station, Ramsey praised her in front of the team, a rare public acknowledgement. "Bennett's why we're still standing," he said. Leela's cheeks warmed, but she stayed focused. The FBI linked the device to a local gang, using Cole's designs to sow chaos. Leela's analysis of the relay helped pinpoint their supplier, leading to arrests. Her tremor slowed her note-taking, but her mind was sharp, connecting dots others missed. Emily noticed her late nights and started staying with her, the two sharing takeout and stories. Leela opened up about her father's death, how his belief in her had carried her through. Emily shared her own fears of failure, cementing their friendship. Another call came, a device at a community center, eerily similar to Leela's first real bomb. The timer showed 12 minutes and the setup was a chemical nightmare. Leela's hands shook, but her confidence was unshakable. She used her fingernails to disable a hidden circuit, stopping the timer at 1:44. The team's cheers echoed, and even Ramsey smiled. That night, Leela found a note in her locker. "You're our rock." She knew it was from Jake. Her childhood, marked by mockery and doubt, felt distant now. She'd turned her tremor into a tool, her pain into purpose. The team's trust, once hard-won, was now her foundation. As she practiced on a mock device at home, her phone buzzed, a group text inviting her to a movie night. Leela smiled, her hands trembling but her heart full. She'd faced bombs, skeptics, and her own fears, emerging stronger. The city relied on her, and she was ready, shaky hands, steady resolve, and a team that had become her family. Leela's reputation at the station was ironclad now. Her hands still trembled, but they were a symbol of her triumphs, not a weakness. She led most high-stakes calls, her instincts sharper than ever. Ramsey treated her as a peer, often deferring to her during briefings. Jake, Travis, and Emily relied on her, their bond forged through shared danger. Mia, under Leela's guidance, passed her first simulation, her shaky hands mirroring Leela's but her confidence growing. Leela felt a quiet pride. She wasn't just saving lives, she was shaping the next generation. A new threat emerged, a device at a city stadium during a sold-out game. The call came mid-afternoon, the team rushing to the scene amid blaring sirens. The device was hidden in a concession stand, its timer at 15 minutes. Leela's hands shook as she approached, the crowd's distant cheers a stark contrast to the silence of her focus. The setup was complex, with a mercury switch and a chemical payload. She spotted a familiar capacitor, tying it to the gang's copycat designs. Using her fingernails, she pried open a sealed compartment, revealing a hidden trigger. The team trusted her lead, holding their breath as she clipped the wire at 2:31. The timer stopped and the stadium stayed safe. Back at the station, Ramsey shook her hand, his grip firm. "You're the best we've got," he said, a far cry from his early taunts. The team celebrated with takeout, Jake joking about her fingernail wizardry. Leela laughed, her guard fully down. The FBI used her analysis to dismantle the gang's bomb-making network, her relay research key to their arrests. She spent late nights refining her findings, her tremor a minor inconvenience. Emily joined her, their friendship now a cornerstone of Leela's life. She thought of her father, his lessons about resilience echoing in every success. A smaller call came days later, a device at a public library, another copycat. Leela disarmed it in under 10 minutes, her hands trembling but her movements precise. The team didn't question her now, they relied on her. Mia watched closely, learning from every move. Afterward, Leela found a note in her locker. "You're my hero." It was Mia's handwriting. Leela's childhood, marked by isolation and doubt, felt like another life. Her hands, once mocked, had saved thousands. She'd turned skepticism into trust, pain into purpose. At a team barbecue, she shared stories of her hometown, the explosion that shaped her, and her father's unwavering belief. The team listened, their respect palpable. As she grilled burgers, her hands shook, but no one cared. She was their leader, their friend. Leela looked at her team, her plaque on the wall and the notes on her fridge. The city was safer because of her, and she'd keep it that way, tremor, challenges, and all. Her story was one of grit, and it was far from over. The station had become Leela's second home, its chaos and camaraderie a stark contrast to her lonely childhood. Her hands still trembled, but they were her strength, guiding her through countless devices. She was now the team's unofficial leader, with Ramsey leaning on her for strategy and Mia thriving under her mentorship. Jake, Travis, and Emily treated her like a sister, their trust earned through every bomb she disarmed. The city saw her as a hero, though Leela stayed humble, driven by the memory of her neighbor's death and her father's faith. A new call tested her, a device at a courthouse found during a high-profile trial. The timer showed 14 minutes and the setup was a chemical labyrinth with a volatile payload that could clear the building. Leela's hands shook as she worked, her fingernails peeling back a hidden panel to reveal a dual trigger. The team watched, silent, as she clipped the wire at 1:58. The timer stopped and the courthouse was safe. Ramsey clapped her shoulder, his respect clear. "You're rewriting the playbook, Bennett." The FBI linked the device to a lone copycat, inspired by Cole but sloppier. Leela's analysis of the chemical components helped catch him within days. Her tremor slowed her notes, but her mind was relentless, spotting patterns others missed. Emily stayed late with her, their bond now effortless. Leela shared stories of her father's garage, how he taught her to see her tremor as a challenge, not a flaw. Emily opened up about her own doubts, their friendship a quiet strength. Another call came, a device at a charity gala, hidden in a decorative display. The timer showed 12 minutes and the setup was a tangle of decoys. Leela's hands trembled, but her focus was absolute. She used her fingernails to disable a pressure sensor, stopping the timer at 1:39. The gala continued, unaware of the danger. Back at the station, Jake toasted her at a team dinner. "To Leela, who makes impossible look easy," she smiled, her heart full. Mia was now handling basic simulations, her confidence growing. Leela saw her own journey in Mia's progress, a reminder of why she kept going. A final note appeared in her locker: "You've changed us all." It was unsigned, but she felt the team's warmth. Her childhood, mocked for her shaky hands, had forged her resilience. She'd turned doubt into trust, isolation into family. The city was safer and Leela was its quiet guardian. At home, she practiced on a mock device, her hands trembling but her resolve unshaken. Her father's voice echoed, "You're unstoppable." She believed it now. The threats would keep coming, but so would she, ready, relentless, her hands a testament to her strength. Leela Bennett wasn't just a bomb tech, she was a force, and her story was one of triumph. Leela's role as the team's linchpin was undeniable now. Her hands trembled, but they were steady where it mattered, disarming bombs, mentoring Mia, guiding the team. Ramsey treated her as his right hand, often deferring to her during briefings. Jake, Travis, and Emily saw her as their anchor, her calm under pressure a beacon. Mia was close to certification, her shaky hands no longer a barrier, thanks to Layla's patience. The city's bomb threats had slowed, but Leela stayed vigilant, her father's lessons about perseverance ever present. A new call came, a device at a train depot found during a maintenance check. The timer showed 13 minutes and the setup was a chemical maze with a volatile gas component. Leela led, her hands shaking as she knelt. She spotted a familiar relay, tying it to the copycat's designs. Using her fingernails, she peeled back a sealed compartment, revealing a hidden trigger. The team trusted her implicitly, their silence a testament to her skill. She disarmed it at 2:03, the timer stopping. Ramsey nodded, his pride clear. "You're a damn machine, Bennett." The FBI used her analysis to trace the device to a final copycat, closing the case. Leela's tremor slowed her paperwork, but her insights were gold. Emily and Mia joined her late-night sessions, their laughter filling the station. Leela shared more about her past, the explosion that drove her, her father's unwavering support. Emily and Mia opened up too, their bond a quiet strength. Another call tested her, a device at a city park hidden in a picnic shelter. The timer showed 11 minutes and the setup was crude but dangerous with a motion sensor. Leela's hands trembled, but her focus was razor sharp. She used her fingernails to disable a decoy circuit, stopping the timer at 1:22. The team cheered and Mia hugged her, whispering, "I want to be like you." Back at the station, Leela found a note in her locker, "You're our heart." It was Travis's handwriting. Her childhood, marked by mockery and isolation, felt like a distant memory. She turned her tremor into a tool, her pain into purpose. The team was her family now, their trust unshakable. At a team movie night, Jake teased her about her fingernail superpowers, and Leela laughed, her guard gone. She thought of her neighbor, lost to an explosion, and her father who'd believed in her. She'd honored them both. As she practiced on a mock device at home, her phone buzzed, a text from Ramsey asking her to lead a new training program. Leela smiled, her hands trembling but her heart steady. The city was safer because of her, and she'd keep it that way. Her tremor was her story, proof of her resilience, her grit, her triumph. Leela Bennett was more than a bomb tech. She was a hero, and she was just getting started. The station was quieter now, with copycat threats fading after the FBI's arrests. Leela's hands still trembled, but they were her signature, a mark of her victories. She led training sessions alongside Ramsey, her insights shaping the next generation of bomb techs. Mia passed her certification, her shaky hands steady under pressure, a testament to Leela's mentorship. Jake, Travis, and Emily treated her like a sister, their bond forged in danger and trust. Leela felt at home, a stark contrast to her childhood of exclusion. Her father's voice, calling her unstoppable, echoed in every success. A final call came unexpectedly, a device at a historic theater found during renovations. The timer showed 12 minutes, and the setup was a chaotic blend of old wiring and modern components. Leela led, her hands trembling as she navigated the maze. She spotted a rare capacitor, a nod to the ghost bomber's legacy. Using her fingernails, she pried open a hidden panel, revealing a chemical trigger. The team watched, their faith in her absolute. She disarmed it at 1:47, the timer stopping. Ramsey clapped her back, his respect unspoken but clear. The FBI confirmed it was a lone actor, inspired by Cole's manifesto but acting alone. Leela's analysis sealed the case. Back at the station, the team threw an impromptu party, toasting her with soda and pizza. Jake raised a slice, grinning. To Leela, who makes shaky hands the ultimate weapon. Laughter filled the room and Leela joined in, her heart full. Mia thanked her quietly, her eyes bright with gratitude. Leela thought of her past, kids mocking her tremor, teachers doubting her. She'd turned their scorn into strength, proving herself with every wire she cut. Emily handed her a note signed by the team. "You're our legend." Leela taped it to her fridge next to the others. Her tremor was no longer a flaw but a badge of her journey. She'd saved lives, built a family, and silenced doubters. At home, she practiced on a mock device, her hands trembling but her focus unshaken. Her phone buzzed, a text from Ramsey offering her a promotion to deputy lead. Leela accepted, her resolve firm. The city was her responsibility and she'd protect it, tremor and all. Her story wasn't just about bombs, it was about resilience, trust, and rewriting her narrative. She thought of her father, her neighbor, and the lives she'd saved. As she looked at her hands still shaking, she smiled. They'd carried her through fire, doubt, and fear, emerging stronger. Leela Bennett was a bomb tech, a mentor, a hero. Her hands told her story, and it was one of triumph. The city would face new threats, but Leela was ready. Her tremor a reminder that she could do anything, one wire at a time.